Welcome back to Kickback. My name is Ben, and Kickback is presented by CMHA Brant Haldeman Norfolk, and I'm now joined by my friend Woody. Woody, how are you?
Not bad. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm doing well, thank you. So going back to last year, it was your first time with Kickback, sharing your story with addiction, and it was fairly fresh for you at that point.
Yes, it was. Since then, a lot's happened. Shortly after we had met there, we have something that they call in the program the mental blank spot, and I was confronted with the mental blank spot, and I actually slipped up and went back out briefly. Very, very brief. I was back the next day into the program, but and then here I am, almost a year clean again.
Right. Well, congratulations for
Thank
that. And I remember you reaching out because we had done. There had been an article that had went out at that time, and I remember sharing it with you, and you had said to me that you had that slip up at that time, and I just remember feeling so just your ability to be able to speak to what you were navigating and what you were feeling, it was incredible to just even in that short engagement to be able to for you to be able to say that this is what I did, but now I'm back and working on it again.
It's definitely a learning experience. I think I learned more in that day than I did in the 9 months prior to that I had been clean, and learned a lot about myself and how much of a grip the disease has. It's I'd been prepared for having cravings and having to how I could deal with having to make a call and then going to pick up, but I hadn't had it where it was just right in my face, and I didn't even have a thought.
Right.
It was happened so quick. That's the grip this disease has on people, right?
Yeah.
So I've definitely safeguarded myself in a lot of ways. I learned, like I said, a lot from that. And was able to, everything happens for a reason, I believe, and that put me in line with the people that I'm working with now. It put me in line with a new sponsor, switched me over from one program to another, and I just kind of found my way, and things started taking off once I switched programs, switched sponsors, and really had a hard look at myself to realize that how defenseless I am against that first drink or drug.
Right, and how important was that for you to find that community in your journey?
I think it was very important, excuse me, because I just felt like I was kind of, when we had spoke last, I was still doing well in my program, but I felt like I hit an idle spot. And then this was, that relapse really made me look at my life as a whole. I was still in the shelter system then, and I think I got too comfortable there. I was just, it's a constant chaos there, and I think that's one thing that when you leave addiction, you can get addicted to that life of chaos,
Right.
And I think I stayed way longer in the shelter system than I really needed to because I got comfortable, and ultimately that was, part of my demise.
Right, and so in what you're sharing, I hear a lot of self-reflection that happened, a lot of work involved with you being able to show up today and say that you are approaching 1 year of sobriety. Can you just speak to the amount of work that's involved in your day-to-day?
The last 350 days has been a lot of work on myself, with my addiction and just working on myself and, kind of getting to learning myself, really figuring out who I was, because for so many years I was living with the masks, right? And just learning to be my genuine self and, being comfortable in my own skin again, right? It's, that first 9 months or so was a very uncomfortable time. There were so many changes in my life. It wasn't a bad uncomfortable, it was just very foreign to me, right? But yeah, it was, I'm very, this one, it opened up my eyes to the spirituality part of it, and, taking care of my spirit, and so I can take care of my body, and it all starts with spirituality for me. Everything starts with God, and that's my first thing in the morning. As I'm hitting my knees, saying my prayers, and then getting ready to do what I got to do. I'm part of a morning meditation meeting now, and I help run the meeting a couple days a week. And I found that meditation, I was always doing these self-reflections at night, and I was praying to have these defects removed and have God make me a better person, but I wasn't doing the meditating to listen for the answers. And, the meditation's really opened up my mind, and it's just been a really beneficial part of my life now.
Right, and I think it's really cool that through that work, and you talk about how you're leading these meetings, and before we started this interview, you shared that you have done numerous speaking engagements.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see you take that leadership role with your community and be able to give back.
Definitely, the Cocaine Anonymous is an amazing community, and the online community, it just brings the world together, you know? Like, I have friends all over the world that I talk to regularly, from Ireland or, you know, LA or Denver, and I'm, you know, everybody networks with everybody. So, you know, I spoke Saturday morning, I spoke in a meeting that's based out of Ireland on Zoom. And then a couple weeks ago, it was in the Denver meeting. And, you know, it's just, it's really nice to meet all these people from all around the world and just bond over the common solution.
Right. And I mean, can you speak to just how important it is to have those people?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, I'm sure there's people who can do this, you know, recover alone, but more power to you. You know, it's not a disease that you can fight alone.
Right.
It's the more people you have in your corner, the better you are, right? Because those people, and a lot of those people, they see me struggling before I see it, and they'll point it out. You know, a lot of people in my life will call me on my bullshit and say, "Hey, man, like, you're slipping. Pull up."
Right.
And I appreciate that, and I do the same for them, right? I'm also, now that I've been through the 12 steps, I'm also working with another individual now, taking him through the 12 steps.
Cool.
And, it's definitely a learning experience. Definitely say it's a lesson in patience and tolerance, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, it's good to see this guy from where he was 60 days ago to where he is now. It's just amazing to watch him grow, and, you know, kind of try and guide him in the right direction. Some things work, some things don't, you know. And all I can do is I can tell him what worked for me and suggest that maybe he tries this, or, you know, or what I've heard worked for other people. You know, I can't tell him what to do because I don't know what's going to work for him. And what works for him might not work for the next guy, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's definitely a learning experience.
Definitely. And what in all of this, in taking this leadership role on through all of the self-reflection, what has surprised you most about maybe yourself and then also the people around you?
There's a saying in the book, I think it goes something like, there's a bit of good in the worst of us and a bit of bad in the best of us. And you know, I've learned that because I think I see people in the program, and I think I put them on a pedestal, and I've been let down by a lot of people, right? Not necessarily a lot, but it does happen. You know, I think it's more in me putting them on a pedestal. Because at the end of the day, we're all addicts, right? You know, anyway, you know, we all come into these rooms the same condition, and, you know, we're all the same. You know, we're all one bad decision from going right back to where we were, right? So there's a lot of equality, and you know, not too many people put themselves above you. You know, you don't have that feeling of being less than.
Right. And how about surprising yourself?
Just some of the things I've started now. You know, I'm getting some mental clarity, and some of the things I'm taking on, like. I've started up, I was doing some Feed the Homeless events with another group of people, and that group fell apart, so I took it upon myself to grab some people from my meetings, and then some people that are normies, you know, not people who have experienced addiction, and we all kind of bonded together to organize these Feed the Homeless events. Last Saturday of every month, we have our meeting at 12:30, and then go downtown and feed a bunch of people that are less fortunate. And, you know, just the fact that I have that mental clarity and mental capacity to put something like that together, and, you know, just a lot of things like with employment and looking at more, right? You know, I'm always looking now to better myself. You know, I'm not content with where I'm at. I don't want to just level. I want to continually get better, continuous improvement every day, I guess you'd say.
What would you tell somebody that there's a lot of stigma, and there's a lot of people that aren't necessarily involved or in direct contact with individuals that struggle with addiction? And I think there's a very fine line between somebody that's struggling with addiction, that's maybe actively in the world and that has a home, that has a place to land, and somebody that is maybe out on the street. Can you provide some insights into the individuals that are currently on like our streets downtown Brantford that are navigating what they're doing?
You know, with all the resources out there, I definitely think a lot of that is choice. You know, it's an action I'll speak from the program point of view. It's an action program, right? You're going to get out of it what you put into it, and I think a lot of people just don't want to put in the work. And you know, there's definitely options. There's a lot of resources out there for people. It's just a matter of those people wanting to pick up those resources and take advantage of them, right? You know, for a lot of years I ran around and I had no interest in using any of these resources, and maybe not even realizing that so many of these resources were available until I was in that situation where I had hit my rock bottom and I needed to make a change, and I reached out and found some of these resources that are in the community, you know, the RAM Clinic, and all the ones that I had mentioned last year. You know, so many, you know, if you want the help, it's definitely there, but it's, you know, you get what you put in.
Right. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience, the people watching?
If you are struggling, you know, it's not an easy road, but there's a lot of people that if you find the right people, that these people are the diehards. You know, they're there to help you and see you succeed. You know, that's what I love about walking into my meetings is, you know, I know everyone in that room is there for me just as I'm there for them. And, you know, it took me a long time to make that decision, right? It's all making that first choice, making that surrender, and just, you know, it's, especially with males, there's a lot of the stigma that males are supposed to be big, strong, not ask for help, you know, and my foolish pride kept me out for a long time. I'm not afraid to admit that. It was definitely a tough pill for me to swallow, to say, I can't do this, and I need help. But once I finally did, and I let go of that pride, and things started to work.
For individuals that are maybe watching that have never experienced addiction before, have never had a family member or a friend navigate addiction, can you share can you kind of paint them a picture of what life is like for somebody that is like struggling with addiction?
It's, you know, it's one of those things where it's a life of misery, you know, even when you're in addiction. It's not a sustainable life. It's not, you know, you think that you have friends out there, but those people aren't friends. They're not there. They could care less whether you do well or you rot and die. You know, it's, and there is, like I said, you have to want it. You can't force people into it, and but it is a horrible existence. You know, I got to a point where I couldn't live with drugs and I couldn't live without them. You know, and it was something had to change at that point. But yeah, it's definitely not as glamorous as the movies and Hollywood makes it. You know, there's a lot of pain, a lot of people hurt. You know, hurt people. And there's definitely a lot of that out there, you know, and everyone's out for themselves. And if you don't have something to offer these people, then you won't get anything in return from them. It's dog eat dog world. Definitely not a way to live.
For somebody that is watching at home, that is maybe on the cusp of being ready to attend a meeting, what do you say to them?
Just take that leap, you know, as hard as it may be, it's not as hard, you know, when I first came in, they told me, you know, the pain in front of you is far less than the pain behind you. You know, you have to let go and let God. That's pretty much, you know, I am very spiritual. I'm not so much religious, but very spiritual. And, you know, from where I came from, there's really no logical explanation, you know, it's not odd, it's God. And yeah, I think I'll leave it at that.
And compared to where you were last year to where you are now, what are you excited about for the year ahead?
Just seeing the gifts of life grow, you know. Every day I'm finding something new to smile about, you know. I do nightly gratitudes in a group with a bunch of guys. It's all our sponsorship family.
Right.
It's guys from all over Ontario, and I think there's a few from Quebec. And it's just a spot 5 things you're grateful for, and a little quick nightly checklist, you know, like a well-being checklist. Making sure you're doing what you're doing, keeping you accountable, and, you know, it's you'd be very hard-pressed to find an addict a grateful addict that wants to use, right?
Yeah.
Find the gratitude, being thankful for what I have, not what I don't have.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't understand that it's a lifelong journey.
It is, yeah. It's not a come in, get a year clean, and then go out. You know, this is something I'm going to have to do for the rest of my life, and I'm quite fine with that. At first, I was like, you know, maybe I'll get a couple months. I'll be able to, you know, drink socially, or, you know, have a beer and go home. And, you know, I've come to realize that I was born without an off switch, and this is just something I have to do. You know, I get this daily reprieve. It's contingent on my spiritual condition. You know, the work I did yesterday won't keep me clean today. Just like the drugs I did yesterday wouldn't get me high today.
Right.
Same deal. You know, it is definitely a daily program, and it's like I said, what you get back what you put in.
Right.
And the gifts I put in the work, the gifts I'm beginning to receive in my life are greater than I could ever imagine.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Woody.
Thank you for having me,
Ben. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story and the work and the leadership role that you're taking in our community. We truly appreciate it.
Looking forward to doing it again next year.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll be right back after this.